Welcome to the Green Impact webinar on using Green Impact as a tool to engage more staff and students on sustainability. I'm going to introduce myself first. I am Anna, and I delivered the Green Impact program at the University of East London for the last 2.5 years. And in the first year, we started off with about 30 members of staff who joined the Green Impact program. And then over time, we grew the Green Impact program at the University of East London and had about 100 members of staff and 20 students participate in 20 Green Impact teams for the last 2 years. I joined Rootability in September 2017 as the Green Impact lead, and I'm now going to basically run Green Impact through the Green Office network together with you. We have a special guest with us today, Jo Kemp from the National Union of Students UK. Jo is the Green Impact Manager at the NUS, and she knows the ins and outs of the Green Impact Programme. She has coordinated and run the programme over the last 5 years at universities, municipalities and businesses, and she's reaching out to other communities and businesses to widen the scope of the Green Impact Programme and get other organisations to join too. Green Impact is now running in the United Kingdom as well as in Australia and Canada and at the Free University in Brussels. And Jo's going to support us throughout the next few months to successfully implement Green Impact through the Green Office network. Thank you, Jo, for being with us today. And Jo is going to answer your questions after my presentation in today's webinar. Thank you, Jo. And we're just going to get started right away. So what we've experienced throughout the last few months is that you're trying to incorporate sustainability into your universities. And a lot of the Dutch universities have a lot of members of staff. So on average, it's about 4,000 members of staff at each Dutch university. So engaging them in incorporating sustainability into university seems very critical and will be an important step to achieve this. But a lot of the time, we've noticed that staff don't know where to start and they don't really know what actions to take. So they may have started their own smaller initiatives in their departments and offices, but they don't necessarily know how to scale it up and also how to involve more of their colleagues into it. And you, as Green officers, seem to have experienced this similar issues. So the actions that you involve might not necessarily stick with members of staff. So that's why we're here to present Green Impact to you, because Green Impact can be a solution for this. Overall, it's a 1-year program that helps to engage staff and students in sustainability and stimulate behaviour change. And you've heard that sentence quite a few times now throughout the last 5 minutes. And I'm going to explain throughout this presentation in more detail how Green Impact can actually help you to engage with staff and students. But I wanted to give you a little bit more of the background to Green Impact before we start doing that. So Green Impact was developed by the National Union of Students UK in 2006. And that's why Jo is joining us today as well to answer some of your questions and to basically get her a bit involved in the discussion that we might have after my presentation. And Green Impact has been very successful throughout the last 10 years. It started off in the UK, but then also throughout the last few years, it started in Australia and Canada. And we are now trying to incorporate Green Impact more across Europe. The Free University Brussels, for example, is the first university in other EU countries that have started doing Green Impact. And in 2015-16, 180 organizations took part. So it's not only universities, it's also fire brigades and hospitals that are participating. Overall, it's about 2,000 students and members of staff that participated. And the NUS won the UNESCO Japan Prize in Education for Sustainable Development in 2006 to basically recognize the impact of the Green Impact Programme more internationally, and that is a massive achievement. So now the NUS has teamed up with Rootability to bring the Green Impact Programme to the universities and the Green Office network. And I'm going to outline in more detail now what the key features of Green Impact are, and then throughout the rest of the webinar, I'm going to dive more into detail into each one of these different features. So starting off with teams of staff and students, members of staff and students are encouraged to form different Green Impact teams. So they can basically develop and implement a toolkit with different practical actions in their office environment, or also even more wider at the university as a whole. Then in the end, once the teams have submitted their toolkits, student auditors will go around and meet with the teams and basically audit what the teams have been doing throughout the last few months. And then in the end, there will be an award ceremony, and the different teams will be recognized for the efforts and how many different points and toolkits they've worked throughout the Green Impact cycle. And I'm going to get more into detail now, and starting off with the first element, the teams. So one of the first steps of Green Impact is to recruit teams of students and staff, and that is part of the Green Impact delivery team. That might be you as the Green Office. And we encourage that this would take about 4 to 8 hours per week, basically go out, talk to members of staff. And there's no restriction as to how many teams you're getting involved. There's no restriction where the teams are coming from. So throughout the last few years, we've seen that there's a lot of library staff or even laboratory, more technical staff that gets involved. It can be human resources, but it can also be more academic departments and schools. So that depends a little bit on how we write the different practical actions for the toolkits. Our support for the recruitment of the teams and staff is that we're going to come along to different events. So basically we're going to be on site, but we're also going to help you with a more off-site support through webinars and resource materials, and through running a midterm workshop together with you and the Green Impact teams to basically tackle some of the issues that you may have encountered throughout running Green Impact at your university. For example, getting teams involved, or for teams to reach out to other members of staff to join their team, or maybe sometimes teams have issues with particular actions, and then we can tackle those in the midterm workshop together or through webinars. Overall, Green Impact is about starting your own internal network of innovators and early adopters. This is Roger's adoption innovation graph, basically, and it shows a little bit who is more likely to adopt new innovations. And so the innovators and the early adopters are the people that we're targeting in the first year, and some of these might already be involved in your Green Office network. So those will be the people that we encourage you to go out and speak to first about Green Impact, try to get them involved, and then hopefully you, as well as these early innovators and early adopters, can help you to reach out to other members of staff throughout the second and third year of running Green Impact. So basically, to go through it a bit more in a step-by-step approach to recruit teams is basically about identifying stakeholders, identifying those innovators and early adopters who are maybe part of your Green Office network already, who've heard about your Green Office initiatives, who've come to some of your events. And then maybe it's about designing a flyer or promoting Green Impact on the website to reach out to even more members of staff who might not have heard about the Green Office network or Green Impact before. Then it's about maybe visiting departments, because a lot of the promotion for Green Impact happens through word of mouth. So it's about going around, talking to different members of staff whenever you have the opportunity, tell them about Green Impact, and then basically try to get them involved through that. And then in the end, it's about hosting a launch event where everybody can come together, and that's when the toolkit is launched and when the whole process of teams implementing the different action actually starts. And that can be more built up as an innovation event, and we will be there to support you at the launch event to basically give a bit more background to Green Impact and introduce the program to the different teams. And I've mentioned the word toolkit quite a few times throughout the last few slides, and that's what I would like to get into a bit more now. So Green Impact works on an online basis. Every university gets their unique URL, and it's also possible to upload your own university logo. I picked the example of Cardiff because Cardiff is one of the universities that has a bilingual toolkit. So this is the login page. Every single university has their own logins, and every team has their own logins, and I'll get to that in a minute. So as already said, Cardiff has the option of bilingual. This is basically between Welsh and English, and you can switch between the two different languages, and that's something that we want to look into in the first year. How much do we need to translate of the Green Impact program into the national language? So that could be Dutch, German, or French in some universities in Belgium. And so our support with that is the access to the online platform, supporting with the translations of the different toolkits, and then also to deliver Green Impact in your own language. or the language of your country. In Germany this year, we can already run Green Impact in German, but this year we will run Green Impact in English in Dutch universities. We were looking at doing that also in Dutch from 2018-19, and that's simply because I still need to refresh my Dutch a little bit, my Dutch skills. And I'm in the process of doing that. So here, this is basically the teams have logged into the Green Impact toolkit now, and you can already see on the left-hand side, bronze, silver, and gold. These are basically the different award levels of Green Impact. So it is up to you as a university to decide how you would like to call the different toolkits. It can be called bronze, silver, and gold, but they could also be called, for example, the first one could be called office, and the silver one could be called department, and the third one could be called university, to basically show the different levels of impact and the different action levels. It's possible to design more specialized toolkits, for example, for catering members of staff or for laboratories. And each individual Green Impact team has the possibility to create their own team name and to have their own login details. So as many members of the team can join the online Green Impact tool, and then they can all work on the same toolkit. So, for example, if the testing Cardiff team decides to go for the bronze award, they would only look at the bronze toolkit. And as Green Impact is a cumulative process, all the teams start with bronze and then work their way up. Basically, if the testing Cardiff team decides to go for silver, they would do the bronze workbook and then the silver toolkit afterwards, in addition to the bronze toolkit. And now we're going to look a bit at our support in the process of doing this. So we're going to have a working meeting first to decide a bit more on how many actions you want to have in total, how you would like to call the different toolkits. So that depends a bit on the goals that you have. We've already had a bit of feedback that the competitive approach with bronze, silver, and gold might not necessarily work at Dutch universities or German universities. So there's a possibility to focus more on a collaborative approach. And that is something that we will discuss in that working meeting to see what your goals are with Green Impact and how we can use the program to meet your objectives and goals. And then we have a lot of other resource documents that we can provide you with, because Green Impact has been running for 10 years. So those 10 years have been very valuable in gaining a lot of experience on how the program is running at different universities, and we can use that experience to help you design your unique Green Impact programs for your university. Now we're going to look a bit more into the actual practical actions. So if the teams, for example, decided to go for a bronze award, one of the actions could focus more on research. And I'm going to read this one out to you. If the team has researchers with environmental sustainability interests, they've engaged externally or collaborated with external organizations to promote sustainability issues to a broader staff, student, community audience. So this criterion is an example from the toolkit of the Free University Brussels. And one of their aims is to promote learning and for linking up the researchers with external organizations, as well as other members of staff and students in their community. And this is then one of the criteria, and how the teams can work through it is they can read a little bit more information about the particular criterion. Why is this important to us? Why are we doing this? And then there's a bit more information on how they will be audited. So auditors will look for evidence of this engagement between the researchers and members of staff. So when the student auditors come around after the teams have submitted the toolkits, they will have a conversation with the team members, and maybe they want to see emails or pictures of that engagement, or maybe posters of how researchers promoted their research outcomes. And teams have the opportunity to upload their comments and supporting evidence here in this tool. And I've done an example for you. So just a test document. This is just a normal Word document that can be uploaded as a file. Pictures can be uploaded. And this is so that when the auditors come around, they can see what have the teams already done. And it offers you a good opportunity as the Green Impact Delivery team to see how far are your teams at this point in time, because we can track their performance basically throughout the Green Impact program, because sometimes teams say that they've done the criterion, but they haven't uploaded any evidence. So it will be a bit more difficult to track and see what they've actually done throughout the year. Once a team has uploaded evidence and basically has completed the criterion, they have the option to click done. And then the question comes up, are you doing this as a result of green impact? And they have the option to say yes or no. This is so that in the end, we can see the statistics of how many of the actions were actually a result of green impact and what impact green impact did have in your university, even if a team clicks no. So, for example, they have already always been promoting, the researchers have always been promoting their research activities with members of staff or with the university community. They would click no, they would still get the points and it would still score towards their Green Impact Award, but it would just not be necessarily a particular impact of the Green Impact Program, but it's still to track whatever they've been doing in whatever sustainability work they've been doing in their departments throughout the last few years and get a bit more recognition for that. Our support in developing the practical actions is again a working meeting that's together with a planning meeting about how you want to go out to recruit your members of team and how many toolkits you want to design, what your goals and objectives are for the Green Impact Program. And then we also have access to the criteria bank with about 280 sample actions of Green Impact actions that have been used at different universities throughout the last few years. So there are basically two options that you have. One is you can look at the criteria bank and just pick and choose some of the criteria that have already been developed by other universities as well as the National Union of Students. Or the other option is that you completely design your practical actions from scratch depending on the goals that you want to achieve with the Green Impact Program and to make the Green Impact Workbook a bit more specific for your own university and university context. I'm going to show you two more examples of practical actions just to show you a little bit the width of what's possible. Another one more in the learning areas in the department, education for sustainability is integrated in courses, case studies, etc. So this is Green Impact teams basically do a bit of an assessment of what's happening in terms of education for sustainable development or education for sustainability. Are we running any modules or are we using any case studies? Could be university case studies like the Green Office case study, for example. Are we using those in the courses and modules that we're running at the university? And another option is, another criterion is focused a bit more around the well-being of members of staff and students. And the criterion is within the last 6 months, a quarter or more of team members have taken part in a lunchtime walk around the campus to encourage health and well-being. But you could also look at other areas like procurement, waste, energy, water, and all of these different examples are also included in the criteria bank with 280 sample actions. So this is the most important point of Green Impact, that you can design your own criteria depending on what you want to achieve. What's a new feature about Green Impact is the achievement report. So each individual Green Impact team can track their progress throughout the Green Impact year. So for example, if a team has decided to go for the Bronze Award, they might want to see how far along they are in the Green Impact Program. And they might want to see how they're comparing against other teams in their university as well as internationally. And that is what the achievement report is for. This is again on the front page of the Green Impact Toolkit. I'm going to do a quick live demo of the Green Impact Toolkit after the presentation, just to show you a little bit how it actually works live. So this is the achievement report. It's just an example from 2014. And then in the first bit, your teams can see their own actions, how many actions they've achieved so far, how many points, their different points for different actions, depending on the impact as well as the amount of work that is required to complete the action. So the higher the impact and the more time they have to invest, the more points they will get. Then if they've participated in Green Impact last year, they can see their award level last year, and then they can also see their award level this year. And this functionality, depending on how we word the different toolkits, might be a bit different depending on what you want to achieve within your university, and if you want to focus more on the competitive approach or not. Then this is your program, that is your individual university. So this is basically the total number of actions completed so far. This is how many people have signed up, and this is a league table of the different teams at your university. And then we also have the international picture here, how many numbers of actions have been completed so far, how many people are participating, and how many organizations are participating. So this is basically from 2014, and in that year, 148 organizations were taking part in Green Impact, and this achievement report is updated on a daily basis, so teams can always see where they're at, basically at a particular point in time. Then there's also an option for you, basically our support is that we provide you with admin access and an Excel user action report, as well as bi-weekly catch-up calls. And that is what this page is for. So this is as the Green Impact Delivery team, this is your unique login details. You have the possibility to log in as an administrator and download different admin pages. So this, for example, is a user action report. It provides you more information about the user details. So this gives you an overview of every single person that has registered on the online toolkit. And it will give you an option of when the person has registered and when the person has last logged in. So this gives you the opportunity to see how many people are actually actively doing some of the Green Impact activities in their offices. Then this one is the action and points for the different teams tab, which shows you how many different actions the teams have completed so far. So for example, this is an example from the University of East London, and the document security team was aiming for a bronze award. They did submit their toolkit in the end, and they did 10 criteria out of the bronze award and achieved a total of 50 points. So this gives you an overview to see where the teams are at throughout running the Green Impact program. And then in the end, you can see if they've submitted their toolkit when the deadline of the toolkit submission is. And the last option, this is a new functionality, the actions details, that gives you an overview of whether teams have uploaded any evidence or not, or whether they've clicked done for the different criteria that they've done. But we will touch base on a bi-weekly basis to talk about the user action reports and to talk about the challenges that you might encounter, as well as the success stories. So for example, if you have 20 teams joining right in the beginning, that's amazing, and we can talk about that, and we can see how you can keep the momentum throughout the Green Impact period. If you only have 1 or 2 teams that have signed up in the beginning, we can also talk about it and then try to identify a few options of how you can get more teams involved. The next is the student auditor. So students can participate as auditors. Once the Green Impact teams have submitted their toolkits, we are going to come to site and train some of the student auditors that have signed up. And the student auditor training is a full day, and it's split up in 2 sessions, 2 parts. The first half of the day will focus on the actual training, and students have the chance to prepare the different audits. So in that, they will learn a bit more what is a good audit, what are the skills that an auditor actually needs. And then they can prepare the audits, that is, look at the different evidence of the teams that they are going to meet afterwards, and already phrase some of the questions that they want to ask the teams, or identify what evidence they still want to see, to make sure that the teams have actually completed the criteria and do what they said they're doing. And then the second part of the day is where students go out and meet with the different teams, and they complete an Excel questionnaire, so that in the end, you as the Green Impact Delivery team can basically see if teams need to still submit any further evidence, or if they're fine, and can just basically have completed the Green Impact program for that particular year. Our support with the student auditor training is to deliver the student auditor training and to help with the audit logistics, like downloading all of the evidence of the different individual Green Impact teams and provide you with that information so that you can give it out to the Green Impact, the student auditors. Then next is the award ceremony. So after the audits, the teams have a bit more time to submit further evidence. And then once all of that is done, there will be a big celebration at the end of the Green Impact program to celebrate the efforts of the teams as well as the students. And here are just 2 examples of the University of East London as well as the University College London of their award ceremony and all the different teams that have participated. Our support with the award ceremony is to give a few organizational tips and tricks on how to run an award ceremony. We're going to be there to support you and to maybe also help you deliver the presentation. And then we're going to provide you with green impact statistics, so more the international figures as well as the figures for your university, your individual university, how many actions have been completed overall, how many teams participated, how many members of staff. So we can provide you with all that information to make your Green Impact Award ceremony even more impactful. I'm going to give you a quick overview now of the different steps of how Green Impact is really running. And Green Impact is an annual cycle, and the annual cycle can be adapted to your unique university and the timeframes that you would like to set for it. And we're going to be there every step of the way to support you with delivering Green Impact. And I already highlighted some of our support with each individual section before, and here's just an overview of how it's running. So we can start, for example, in the beginning of October with planning the toolkit and developing the toolkit, then go out and start recruiting the teams. Then maybe from December or even January, the teams are going to implement the different actions. So the launch event might be in the beginning of January or the beginning of December, depending on your own project deadlines and project timelines. And then teams have maybe between 4 to 6 months time to implement the different actions in their office areas and university-wide. Then at the end of April, for example, is the toolkit submission. Then in May, the audits can take place where the students go around and meet with the different teams. Then June could be the award ceremony. And in July, we can evaluate and feedback on how Green Impact ran at your university. Then already start planning the next year, 2018-19 or 2019-2020. Wow, that seems a very long time away. And throughout, as already mentioned, we're going to be there to support you at every step of the way. And we're going to provide approximately 50 hours on-site support and 30 hours off-site support. And in the first year, Green Impact costs around €4,200 plus VAT plus traveling costs. And then in the second year, it will be a bit more. So in the first year, we provide a 30% reduction of the fees. And we're going to help you to deliver the Green Impact program. So overall, what are the benefits for staff, students, and the Green Office? For members of staff, it's the feeling of being empowered and actually being part of a bigger network that runs Green Impact at the universities. It's also to get recognition for their efforts, for example, at the award ceremony in the end, where they can celebrate their efforts and also hold an award in their hands. For students, it's the experience as well, working together with members of staff. It is a volunteering opportunity. They can gain more employability skills throughout. For example, at UEL, we had a student that never scheduled an Outlook calendar meeting invite before. So she learned all the practical things of how to work in an office by being part of a Green Impact team and helping a Green Impact team to implement their actions. It's also fun to work with members of staff and to actually get involved into making your university a more sustainable place. For the Green Office, it's a framework for student and staff engagement. So as already mentioned from the beginning, it seems that a lot of you are struggling at the moment to go out and develop your own more long-term and more impactful and effectful staff and student engagement programs. So Green Impact provides you with that framework. And as it's been around for the last 10 years already, it is a tested and more structured approach to doing student and staff engagement. It's also the visibility. So through the different Green Impact actions, you can promote your own activities and initiatives and become more visible to the wider university community. And it is a possibility to scale up engagement. You can start small with the innovators and early adopters, and then basically go out and have as many teams as you like involved in the Green Impact program. For the university, it's employee satisfaction. So members of staff actually get to participate and get to be a bit more involved in university life and maybe feel a bit more empowered. So overall, that will lead to more employee satisfaction. It's also the student experience. At a university, we always hear about the students need to learn more and they're the prime customer of the university. So Green Impact allows them the opportunity to learn more employability skills outside of the formal curriculum, which can be very valuable for a lot of students and might help them to actually find a job after graduating. And Green Impact can help to save costs. For example, if the Green Impact Toolkit focuses on energy and members of staff start switching off the lights and start promoting energy saving initiatives a bit more, then maybe that can lead to more cost savings in terms of the energy bills of the university. Throughout the last few weeks, I've had a few conversations with green officers and a few concerns have been raised, and I just wanted to bring these up because we are very much aware that there are a few risks and a lot of concerns that happen with green, or that Green Impact might bring at your universities, but it's about building on the good practices and learning from them and trying to implement the program in a more structured way at your university. So as already mentioned, it is a competitive approach and it might not work at other universities, but good practices is that we can build it up more as a collaborative approach. So for example, you can reword the wordings of the names of the different toolkits, or the practical actions can focus more on working together with another Green Impact team, or getting 5 or 10 other members of staff involved who are not part of the Green Impact team to basically do some of the actions and initiatives in the office department, or just through the Green Office. Criteria may encourage tick boxing rather than institutional change, and this is then important to find a balance between more task-based and open-ended criteria. This is a very valid point, and it might take the first year or even a second year to get a bit of a feeling of what kind of actions you can ask different teams. It will depend on what teams participate and how much the teams make the Green Impact criteria basically their own and develop a bit more ownership over the different criteria. And this will take a bit of time to get a feeling for it. But as I've been running Green Impact at the University of East London, and we have the support from the National Youth Students through Joe, we hopefully can iron out some of these concerns and develop more open-ended criteria or more effectual criteria for your university. Another very valid concern is that staff don't have time and don't get support from line management. And this is where we would encourage you to start with the people in your network who's already involved, who comes along to regular initiatives, and then get them to help you to reach out to others, to other members of staff, to other departments, and potentially their line managers to get a bit more time to do Green Impact. Another concern raised was that Green Impact suggests environmental focus simply because of the name green. And this is very true, but it also fits with the Green Office name, and then it's just about how we communicate Green Impact amongst members of staff and university-wide. So overall, we are very aware that there are various risks with running Green Impact, but the biggest learning outcome is that the more time you invest, the more you will also get out of running Green Impact. And this leads me to the other 5 lessons that I would like you to take away from today. Green Impact helps to break down big plans into more tangible actions. It provides a framework for staff and student engagement. It is good to start small and then scale up to develop an internal network. So start with maybe 6 teams in the first year, and then you always have the possibility to scale up and have 20 teams in 2 or 3 years' time, as we did at the University of East London. There are risks, but the more time you invest, the more you will get out of it. And don't reinvent the wheel. Work with us to benefit from 10 years of Green Impact experience. And so here is the different ways to join the program. Is we can set up a 30-minute to an hour initiation call to discuss the different, you might have more concerns, to discuss your concerns or answer your questions, and then decide a little bit on how we can run Green Impact at your university. You can send me any emails with questions, and we also have time now after the presentation to run through some of your questions and answer some of your questions. Follow regular updates on Facebook, and then our deadline to sign up for the 2017-18 program is Friday next week, the 29th of September, and it would be great if you could either send me an email or we can set up a phone conversation to talk about it. I quickly wanted to give you an online demo of what the Green Impact Toolkit actually looks like, and I have to change my screen for this. There we go. So this is the online Green Impact platform. And again, I chose Cardiff as an example. So if I go here, I'm going to log. So this is the login page. As you can see here, here's the unique URL. Here's the logo of the university. And when I log in with the example login details for Cardiff University, this will lead us to the first page. And you've already seen this on the slide. This is the introduction page to Green Impact. Here, the different toolkits. So bronze, silver, and gold is for all members of staff in the individual departments. Then there's the option to have a catering toolkit. You could have a cleaning toolkit if you want to get the cleaning staff more involved. The Cardiff University has also developed a bronze, silver, and gold award for laboratories, because this is one of the areas that they've identified as one of the who they want to get more involved in Green Impact, or who might also be more involved in Green Impact. So you can work a bit more or see who's involved, and if you want to develop more specific actions for them, you could, for example, have a specific toolkit for academics to focus a bit more on the curriculum, or have a toolkit just for students if you want to get more students involved in the individual teams. This is the bronze toolkit. The number of criteria is up to you, so you can decide if you want to have 17 or only 15 or 5 different criteria in your toolkit. Also, the categories are up to you. So this is energy, for example. These are just a few other criteria, and I've already showed you the learning ones from the university, the Free University of Brussels. Again, this is the criteria, further information, how you will be audited, comments and evidence, and then the teams can click done once they've done the criteria. So I'm going back to the menu. This is just to show you a bit how this actually works live. Here's the achievement report. It takes a little of time to load. There we go. So this is the achievement report. Again, your team, your program, and then usually there's the international picture down here as well, but it doesn't seem to work today. My internet connection is not the strongest either. Once teams are at the stage that they're going to submit the toolkit, they can just click submit here, and then you can see that the teams have submitted the online toolkits, and they can provide any comments if they have with the toolkit. So this is just a very brief overview of the online toolkit. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to provide you with the opportunity to ask questions. And as already mentioned, Joe is here to help us with answering some of your particular questions. Do you have any questions? This is a free program. There's a question. No, it is not. So our support is 4,200 euros in the first year, plus VAT, plus traveling costs, because we're going to come to site to your university to support you with running the different events at your university. And then in the second year will be 6,000 euro. This is so that we can cover our costs. It's the online toolkit, for example. It's running the webinars. It's our time. It's coming to site, helping you with, providing you with resource documents like presentations for the launch presentation and the award ceremony. We're going to run webinars to support you throughout the program, and bi-weekly calls, for example, to just have a half an hour catch up every 2 weeks to discuss any challenges that you may have encountered at your university. So yeah, in the first year it's 4,200 euro plus VAT plus traveling costs. Are students only involved as auditors or also in the teams? That's Clarity is asking the question from the UFA. I'm going to hand over this question to Jo because I think she can explain this in more detail.
Yeah, so there is the kind of more formal project assistant role that we created a few years ago on the back of a lot of universities saying that they had really keen students who wanted to gain more sort of professional experience throughout the year rather than just being auditors. So we've developed a training session and and sort of support package to help students either sort of lead teams or work with the teams to help them do some of the things. So generally we tend to find that teams really appreciate student input, particularly if the team isn't student facing. So a lot of kind of support or administrative teams really enjoy the opportunity to work with students throughout the year when maybe they don't normally get that sort of connection with students. But also we find that they really like students kind of having an overview of the toolkit and being kind of in charge of the more technical side of things, or to help them do a lot of the communications work where maybe they're not sure or they don't feel confident in creating materials, etc. So we've kind of created a formalised project assistant post. On the other hand, plenty of organisations do just have students taking part in teams as team members without necessarily including that element as well. It's not as common as giving students a kind of specific role. Students tend to like the idea in the UK, at least, of kind of having an official position. But for example, at the University of Leicester, the geography and geology teams were set up by students because the staff weren't forthcoming, and they were some of the most successful teams in terms of taking the most actions. Yeah, there's definitely potential to integrate students much more along the way as well. I think it mainly depends on your reach and who you work with, the capacity of students to input, and obviously your capacity in terms of managing students alongside managing staff as well. But all of it's possible.
Yeah, and in addition to that, thanks, Jo. I just wanted to mention, for example, the Free University of Brussels. They had students involved last year in each individual team, and they were just student volunteers. They didn't have the formal agreement of project assistant role so much. And the students then gave feedback that they didn't really have many activities to do because it's a lot of members of staff, and students don't necessarily have the same access to the office area as members of staff. So they felt like their role was a bit obsolete. But then this year, to incorporate the students more in the program, the VUB has introduced a toolkit, for example, for students only, where they can take on more the role of going out to the lecturers and promote more education for sustainability in their modules and liaise with the lecturers, liaise with heads of departments, or just, for example, to do a video about why they think sustainability is important that then the Green Office can put on their website to show that students are really interested in that subject. So it's basically just to underline a bit with a few examples what Jill just said, that you can get students involved also in the Green Impact teams and have even a few activities that are just simply designed for the students so that they can do something and help to promote the sustainability agenda at your university. Do we have any more questions? Yes. Nikki is asking questions. Are members of staff easily willing to be interviewed by students? Jo, would you like to answer this question?
Yeah, sure. Yes, is generally the answer. They know that it's part of the programme from the beginning. We try and make sure that that's integrated into the communications at the beginning of the year when we're recruiting staff teams. And generally, yeah, we find that they really like being able to show students what they have been doing. We try and reiterate through the programme that it's a really positive engagement project. It's not about showing what we haven't done, it's about showing what you are doing and the efforts that you're making to make change. So they see it generally as a really positive opportunity to show the student body what's happening. Quite often staff are quite nervous, partly because we call it an audit, and in the UK at least that has other connotations in terms of financial audits or otherwise. So it feels like quite a formal process for them sometimes, which we generally find is really positive in terms of making it feel like something that they've really achieved and that they're really sort of showcasing what they've done. There is also the opportunity for staff to do some auditing as well. And at some institutions, it's kind of a balance between staff and students that do the audits. So I mean, we're not prescriptive, but it's a fantastic opportunity for students, and we like to make sure that there is that opportunity available to them. But yeah, generally both staff and students find it a really positive experience.
I can probably add to that from personal experience, because when I used to work at the University of East London, I was part of the Estates and Facility Services. And a lot of the green impact teams that joined in the first year, they were also part of the service. And we always got to hear that students are the main customer of the university, because it was a very academic, teaching focused university rather than so much of a research university. And a lot of the support staff, they didn't necessarily feel like they could contribute to helping students to basically become leaders of society in the future, or to learn their different subjects. So Green Impact gave the members of staff the opportunity to talk to students and to actually feel more part of the university community, because they had suddenly that direct exchange between students and members of staff that, for example, support staff didn't really get on an everyday basis. And the support staff could contribute to the more employability skills of the students, like allow them to set up different meetings or organize events in their departments and office areas. So they really enjoyed that direct exchange with the students very much, and they felt more part of the university experience and university life. So Green Impact helped with that quite well. Right. If you do have any questions, feel free to send me an email, and I'm going to send out the slides later today as a PDF, and we're going to upload the recording to YouTube, and send out the link for the webinar as well, so that you can answer any of that. You can show it to your Green Office team members and anybody else who would like to learn a bit more about the Green Impact Program. And this is it from my side. And thank you all very much for joining the webinar. And yeah, I hope that I'm going to hear from you very soon. And I'm looking forward to working with you in the future about Green Impact. Also, Green Impact is not something for you this coming up academic year 2017-18. We're going to run it again 2018-19. So we're hoping that this will become one of the services that Rootability can deliver and offer to you as the Green Offices as part of the network. So thank you very much for joining the webinar, and have a wonderful day today. Bye.